You're listening to Monday Matters, a Principal Matters podcast production.
Hi, Principal Matters listeners. This is Will Parker, along with my co-host, Jen Schwanke. Welcome to another episode of Monday Matters for Principal Matters listeners. Jen, I'm still getting used to this Monday Matters format, but what's cool about it is it gives us a chance to just check in on a more consistent basis in real time, because so many of our interviews, and we have so many people that we've been talking to, are scheduled out sometimes months in advance. This gives us a chance to say hello to Principal Matters listeners on a weekly basis. So as we step into the end of January, I know you and I both have been busy doing both work with schools, in schools, and with leaders. But I want to just have a quick conversation with you this week about what works for you and your commitments to well-being, because I know a lot of people set New Year's resolutions and they always start off strong. We always like January 1, man, we're ready to go. And then by January 27th, we're like, okay, I'm tired. And I also want to set up a conversation I'm going to just play a recording of here in a moment with a good friend of mine, Cherith, Aven, who started a running club for principals. So in lieu of that, I wanted to just ask Jen, and I'll share mine too, but what works for you keeping your commitments to well-being? And I'm asking that question generally because I know that means more than one thing.
Right. Well, it means more than one thing, and it means something completely different to each individual person. And, for us to preach what works for us will fall on dead ears to some people who say, well, that's not feasible to me. I can't do that. So I'm going to answer it from the 30,000 foot view. One is habit. When you make a commitment to take care of yourself and to your well-being, it just has to be consistent. Like anything else, it has to be every day. So, if you make a commitment to eat only organic vegetables, and then the one day you're starving and there's no organic vegetables around, you're going to eat the donut, right? So you have to do it consistently, and you have to be ready. You have to plan ahead. One of the other things I've been thinking about a lot too is knowing when you're not well. And I didn't tell you that I was going to talk about this, but I had a really tricky fall and I was fine. I was strong. I was okay. I had my habits. I was doing the things. And at some point, my husband said to me, "Hey, you're not okay." And acknowledging that he was right and that a loved one was telling me, "Hey, it's time to take care of yourself." And, we all hear the oxygen mask analogy, but he said it very well. He said, you can't breathe if you don't have your mask on first. And that changed how I thought about well-being. You have to notice when you're not well, and you have to make sure you're breathing, whatever breathing means: eating right, sleeping right, having a support system, exercising, staying off social media, getting on social media, whatever it might mean to you. It's habit, and it's acknowledgement of your own needs.
Wow, Jen, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being so vulnerable too. Yeah, it's really easy. You and I are at a stage of life now that my kids are adults. Your kids are becoming adults. But we're also at a stage in our life where if you had rewound 20, 25 years ago, you would have seen a different version of Jen and Will, because we had younger kids. We had positions that were high demand. And that's one of the reasons we do this podcast, is because I remember all the seasons I've been through in education and leadership, some of which I navigated well and some of which I didn't. And I think part of the passion that we have for this work is if there's any way that I can share from experience ideas that will help someone else do it better,
right,
then let's come along. Let me teach you what Let me teach you what I know.
That's exactly right. And nobody goes through this work or this life unscathed. And it's okay to struggle and, to have your times where you are falling down and need some help.
I could share a bunch of tips on how to maintain commitment to well-being. You could read my book, Pause, Breathe, Flourish, listeners, if you want to get all my, sage advice. But I'm just going to pick one thing to say here, Jen, and that is the power of being present. And even if it's just one moment a day where you just take an opportunity to just take a step back from everything that's going on and just be present and recognize, whether it's take a step outside and just look up at the sky and realize, oh, I forgot how beautiful this world is.
Mhm.
Or just being present long enough to look around a room of students and see the joy in their faces and the humor in their laughs and the ridiculousness of their antics, and just be in that moment. Because we can get so caught up in all the to-dos and all the things we have going on and all the conversations and problem solving. But sometimes just taking a moment to be present can really help you recenter. And I know some people call that mindfulness. I'm not sure what I call it. I just call it permission to be present,
Right.
and give yourself permission to just take that break. So you and I've talked a lot before that what works for you is what works for you. So, whether that's a quick walk around outside, or whether that's sitting and journaling some gratitude, or whether that's a quiet moment in the morning before everybody else is up, or whether that's shutting the door in your car and just driving alone for a while, or whether that's turning music up really loud and dancing your heart out, whatever, or a good workout, whatever that looks like, it's going to look different for each person.
I saw a great meme the other day and it said, show me someone who doesn't want to get in their car, drive far away, leave it all and never come back. And I'll show you someone who doesn't know how to drive. I thought it was really funny and very true, right? And it's okay to have those moments where you're like, I'm not even sure what what to do. One thing that works for me, and I know this sounds a little cliche, but it's the gratitude too. I heard a kindergarten teacher say this so beautifully just this morning to a group of 5-year-olds. She said, the amazing thing about being grateful is the more you're grateful, the more good things happen to you. And so, you mentioned the sun. When you look up and you think, there's this thing that keeps me warm. How
Hmm.
grateful am I? It seems so kooky, but it's true. And then you start to notice all the other things that are really going well. And it takes discipline, especially when things feel like they're kind of a mess. It takes discipline to say, no, I'm going to take a moment and be glad.
Jen, my mom passed away more than a year ago, and you're just reminding me of something I loved about her personality was, and my mom did not live an easy life. She raised 6 kids. She lived out in the country. She followed my dad around as a military wife. She um, suffered through a traumatic brain surgery when she was
Mm.
in her 50s. But the thing that just always blew my mind about her was her contentment and her ability to be present. And there's this funny memory I have. I know Emily, who edits, is my assistant and my daughter, so she'll remember the story. But one of the last times we were home visiting my mom, her favorite thing to do was to go out in the woods. She just loved being outside. And one day, um, all the grandkids were there, and we wanted to go for a hike or something. So we headed out in the woods, and there was my mom. She was already out there. And we're like, oh, mom, we're going to do a hike in the woods. And she's, oh, that's great. She goes, look at this plant. And she got down on her knees and she was looking at this plant beside this tree. I'm not even sure what it was because I was focused on the hike. And so a couple of the grandkids stayed back with her and we went on this long walk and we came back and she was still there. I was probably an hour later. She was still there looking at the same plant and just reveling in it and just enjoying talking about it. And I just stopped and thought, who had the better time?
Yeah, right. Right.
Who had the better time? The person who is present or the person who is on the mission? It
Right.
probably the answer is both. But
Right.
there's just something beautiful about being with someone who's just willing to stop and
Right.
just be present. Um, so as we wrap up, this might sound self-serving, but I don't mean it to be. But I just want to speak to any listeners who, when you think about your own well-being, um, maybe you need to jump in a conversation with somebody. Maybe you don't need Jen or me. Maybe you need to talk to somebody who is a professional, like a therapist that could help you work through some of the bigger questions you have, or a confidant or a friend or a counselor. Or maybe I've had a lot of principals jump into coaching sessions with me, Jen, where just the chance to reflect on their own work and these questions around that work just helps give them perspective. And so if that's something that you think would be beneficial to you, you can always reach out to me at will@williamdparker.com. Or if you'd like to jump into a conversation with Jen, you can always reach out to her at jen@jenschwanke.com. I think I've memorized your email address.
Yeah.
And
That's it.
but Jen, as we wrap this up, I'm going to just let principal managers know that I'm going to transition now into a conversation with a good friend, a middle school principal, Cherith Aven, who lives here in Oklahoma, in Cleveland, Oklahoma. couple of years ago, she started an Oklahoma running club for educators because she was finding running was just such good practice for her own well-being. And she was like, I wonder if other people would want to do it with me. And now it's just exploded into this almost like a movement. In fact, she gave me a t-shirt when she announced she was starting this club, and I promised her I wouldn't wear it until I got her on my show. So now, folks, I can put that t-shirt on because I like to keep my promises. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with Cherith, Aven, and Jen. Thank you for checking in on this Monday. Hope you have a great week.
Thanks, everyone.
Hi, friends. I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Cherith Aven, who is the middle school principal in Cleveland, Oklahoma, because she's doing something just so amazing with keeping leaders healthy. And so, Cherith, why don't you tell listeners what you're doing? Because this is a dream that's come to be something that's powerfully helping Oklahoma leaders, but listeners may want to try this in their own state. So, catch us up. Tell us what you've been doing and how this might help leaders stay healthy.
You bet. Well, thanks for being one of our champions. You were actually one of the first people that I told that we were about to launch this nonprofit. In January of 2024, we started Oklahoma Educators Run Club for any Oklahoma educator or even loved ones of our educators to have a healthy outlet, not just for our physical body, but our mental well-being. You know, this is a tough profession to be in, and it will steal your physical and mental health really quickly if you let it. And so our goal is to empower educators 1 mile at a time. That is our mission statement. And we do that by running together. We train together on a daily or weekly basis within our own district. And then we host social runs once a month. We try to race at the 2 Oklahoma Premier Marathons, which are Oklahoma City in the spring. So we do a 12-week training for that marathon, which is very meaningful right there in the center of our state, honoring the bombing. That was actually this year is the 30th year since the bombing. So this is the 25th marathon. We're very excited to be a part of that. And then we are only a week out from our Route 66 Tulsa Marathon, which we've been training for 12 weeks for. So we have got 3 relays, we've got walkers, we've got runners, we've got walk runners. And so we're really for everybody. We have members like Jen Miller, who just qualified for the Boston Marathon as she finished the Chicago Marathon, rock star runner. And then we have members like Katie Cook, an art teacher at an elementary school in Broken Arrow, who about a year ago began her health journey and has lost 90 pounds so far. And so she's running, walking these local 5Ks with her boyfriend as they continue this health journey. It's just such a wide and varied, just like educators, right? We're not all the same. We're so different needs, but we all can come together, run together, walk together, be together. The more that we're out there, the more people I'm meeting that are just absolutely incredible. And I want our communities to know, I want our state to know, I want our nation to know how awesome these Oklahoma educators are.
Well, I have an Oklahoma Education Run Club t-shirt that you gave me.
Yay!
When I was doing training with Cleveland public school principals, and I was able to come up and do Pause, Breathe, Flourish with you guys a couple of summers ago, and we just talked about self-care. And so it's just so inspiring, Cherith, to see how you took those lessons and you're like, let's do this. Not just because it's something that's a passion for you, but you've grown this with other leaders. And I know because I have good friends at the state association that you are actively involved in OMLEA, and that Chris LeGrand, who's the executive director there for that association, and OASSP, is also a runner. And if someone wants to join, because by the time this recording comes out, we may be already past the Route 66 run, but how can they connect, and how often do you guys get together?
Sure. So we're on all social media platforms. Instagram, you can find us at OKED Run Club. Facebook, we're Oklahoma Educators Run Club. Would love for you to find us and join the conversation. And then if you feel so led to join our membership, we do have a website, which is okedrunclub.com. You'll be able to see all kind of pictures of, the events that we've gone to, the races that we've been. we're ramping up for 2025. We're about to start a shoe school scholarship. So this is, those shoes are not cheap. If you go out and look at a pair of Hoka or New Balance, it can make a pretty serious dent in a teacher's budget. And so we're hoping that we can get the funding so that we can provide free shoes for our school leaders, for teachers. Honestly, it's for anyone that's a member that can apply. We're setting that up for 2025. We're also going to set up a school race series so that we can support schools out there. There's a bunch of us runners, and we want to join forces and help others out there too.
Okay. So I'm just going to go out on the limb and tell Principal Matters listeners that if you want to donate to the shoe school scholarship, that's going to be available in 25?
Yeah, 2025. We're about to launch that in January. That's right.
All right. Well, you can go to OKEDrunclub.com. And Cherith, I'm just going to make a commitment from Principal Matters that when you put that up there, you can see me hop on there and I want to make a donation. So don't forget.
Thanks, Will.
Also, I just want leaders to know that if this is something that they're hearing and they would love to do in their own state, Cherith, give folks an idea of how you made this possible and maybe some things that they could think about if they wanted to start something like this in their own state.
It's so funny that sometimes my big mouth gets me in trouble by saying, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to let, and when we had that meeting in December, I said, we're going to, launch this nonprofit. So from the ground up, I built this thing with lots of help, of course. But if you guys are wanting to start that out there, don't try to do it by yourself. Call me and I can give you some directions. But to be honest, it doesn't cost a lot just to ask the teacher down the hallway, hey, you want to go for a run? Or do you want to go for a walk? Or, January 2025, this is going to be the beginning of our health journey. We're going to get physically fit and mentally fit. And none of that costs anything, just a little bit of time. But I do like that by organizing it, we get to meet more people. And it's just contagious. Good health, good mental health is contagious.
I love that. Well, Cherith, as we wrap up, how can listeners reach out to you if they are local and want to participate, or if they want to reach out to you to find out more ideas of how they may be able to do this where they live?
Yeah, absolutely. You are welcome to go into our website and you can contact me through there, or you can find me at Cherith Aven at OKEDrunclub.com. We do the Facebook event pages. Whenever we have a social run, that's pretty easy to find and join and just show up, lace up and come on.
All right. Lace up and come on. Well, Principal Matters listeners, thank you for meeting Cherith Aven, who actually jumped on this call right before a passing period in the middle of a school day. So yes, Cherith, I'm just celebrating with you and so excited for the things you guys are doing to make sure that you're staying healthy, educators are staying healthy, because we want this work to be sustainable. So thank you for doing what matters.
It's always good to see you, Will. Thanks for giving me some time.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Principal Matters, the School Leaders Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, would you take a moment and like, share, subscribe, or leave us a review? In fact, if you share it out with a friend, even more people can become a part of these conversations. Sign up for our newsletter at williamdparker.com for even more free resources. And don't forget to check out our website to learn more about our books, professional development offerings, Grow Academies, masterminds, executive coaching, and keynote presentations. Wow, let's keep learning together. And thank you for doing what matters.
Monday Matters.